Guys, I'm doing my cultural presentation on the Yanomami Tribe. I picked them because, out of all of the tribes left in our hemisphere, they're the ones that really haven't had contact with Western culture. The first time they had contact with them was in about the 1950s, and they still remain mostly isolated. So I'm going to talk about the religion and superstitions of the Yanomami tribe. The Yanomami are a shamanistic tribe, meaning that all of their spiritual beliefs are guided by shamans in the tribe, and any member of their tribe can become a shaman. It's very dangerous because it involves extensive training that goes on for years and involves ingesting a lot of hallucinogenic drugs that they find in nature around them, so like licking frogs. I also believe that everything around them has spirits, so every rock, every grain of dirt has a spirit, and these spirits can be good or bad, and that's how the shamans come into play. They battle the bad spirits away and interact with them by using these hallucinogenic drugs. Superstitions, they're very superstitious people. One of the superstitions is that every time someone in the tribe dies, their bodies are burned, and as well as all of their belongings, and the ashes from that are mixed into a paste, and the tribe will eat them. So they're actually cannibalistic. But women and children aren't allowed in on this process because until the person is ingested, a lot of bad spirits are milling around, and the women and children are susceptible to being taken over by these bad spirits. And after the person has died and has been ingested, you can never say their name again, because if their name is spoken, or if they haven't been ingested yet, their spirit can't rest in peace. So next I'm going to talk about family. Family in the Yanomami tribe is very important. They all live in the entire tribe lives in these large huts, round huts called yanos. And you spend every day with them from the day you're born till the day you die. You are less than 3 feet away from your family. They sleep next to you. Even when you get married, your family's still under that hut. And these huts can fit up to 400 people in them. And even Yanomami, the few Yanomami who have left to go to Western culture, end up coming back because these people say that they're very lonely in Western culture. If you think about it, it's considered a good thing when you have your own room and you have time to yourself. The Yanomami don't have that. They never have that. Alright, so next is personal space. Touching and being touched. To the Yanomami, there is no such thing as personal space. These people typically, from the day you're born to the day you have your first menstrual cycle or you've gone through puberty, you don't wear anything as far as clothing goes. And even after that, it's generally only a loincloth and like some body paint. So from the day you're born, you're touched. Babies are never set down. They're cradled even when the mother is off working. And because there's such a shortage of female members of the tribe, because male babies are preferred, generally right after your first menstrual cycle is done, you're married off. So, if you have your menstrual cycle at 11 or 10, you're being married at 10 years old. And the only time a member of the tribe is isolated is during their first menstrual cycle. The blood is considered poisonous, so the women going through menstrual cycles actually have a different hut farther out in the woods, away from protection from the men in their tribe, and they're expected to bury all of the bleeding from the menstrual cycle. So they sit over a hole and then they bury it. And generally the first menstrual cycles, about the only menstrual cycle a woman in the Yanomami tribe will have during her lifetime, because they're constantly pregnant. So the second you have your baby, you are getting pregnant and ready for the next one, or you're breastfeeding. So it's typically not something they go through often in life. And, you know, even if a husband dies because of old age, or he dies because they're very violent tribes, they fight with each other, and, you know, they steal women whenever they fight. You'll be married off to someone else. You'll be having someone else's kids, so you never get a break. And the Yanomami are also polyamorous. So if your husband feels bad for his brother who doesn't have a wife yet, because women are hard to find, he might lend you for a few weeks. And then also need for privacy. The only time you'll have privacy if you lived in the Yanomami tribe is during the consummation of your marriage. And even though there's no official marriage ceremony to the Yanomami, to be alone is considered strange and it's unsafe because, you know, you're away from the protection of the tribe and there might be dangerous warring tribes nearby. So, you know, you get to go alone behind some bushes, you know, the first time you're having sex after marriage, and then that's it. Family roles and expectations. Men are the decision makers in the tribe. Especially, you know, the head of the tribe, the shamans of the tribe are primary decision makers. So, you know, women are, the decisions of their lives, like who you're going to marry, where you're going to live in the hut, are all made by men. Or if there isn't a male family member immediately available, an elder member of the family, because, you know, if you've lived that long, you deserve to have your voice heard. And then once you become married, the woman becomes the property of the husband rather than the property of the father or the brother. The primary caregiver for newborns, is the mother. They stay with the mother breastfeeding, you know, up to 3 years of age, unless she gets pregnant again. As soon as the wife is pregnant again, she's given to, you know, older sisters or other women, family members in the tribe for the baby to grow up with. So, you know, until the men reach their adulthood tasks, they are surrounded by their mothers. And while the children are with their mothers during the first few years of life, the mother's teaching them about different plants around their area, and, you know, different traditions the Yanomami have until they're ready to join the tribe as adults. And once they're adults, women stay on with the mothers anyway and execute daily tasks. But the boys will move on to learn how to hunt and how to protect the tribe. The elements, hot and cold, they don't have specific beliefs about hot and cold as far as pregnancy goes. They just believe, you know, they have plants around them and they have to cook everything. So I guess that's kind of it. You know, they eat, most of their meals consist of plants because, you know, hunting can be easier said than done. So, you know, they generally eat from over 500 different kinds of plants, and only 10% of their diet comes from animal protein. Intrapartum interventions. These people live out in the middle of the rainforest. They do not have hospitals nearby. There aren't even roads. Most of them have never seen a car. So if something goes wrong during pregnancy, either the woman will die, the baby will die, or they both will die. The best thing they can get is if there's a shaman nearby who knows what plant is a pain reliever, she might get some pain relief during pregnancy, but that's about it. You know, these women are out working in their fields because they harvest plants until their water breaks, and then they go behind some bushes, pop out the baby, and move on. You know, because if they don't allow the birthing process to be done in the Yano, the hut that everyone lives in, it's generally done out in the woods away from everyone because, you know, all of the goodies that come along with birth, so the placenta, the cord, all of the blood, the fluids are considered unhealthy, just like the first menstrual period blood is. So it's, buried shortly after birth. Postpartum recovery, as far as rest goes, the women can rest until the lochia subsides because it's considered poisonous. It needs to be buried. But after that, as the second her lochia is gone, she is expected to return to her former labors. So gathering plants and farming with a child on her back while breastfeeding. So the work just gets harder. Hygiene, handling the lochia, like I said, the lochia is considered unclean because of the blood, and she'll be separated until that goes away. And other hygiene habits remain the same. These people will bathe if they're visibly soiled, but they're not going and taking a shower every day. Modesty, there is no modesty among the Yanomami, so, there's no shying away about breastfeeding. It's going to be done right there in front of everybody. She'll have a loincloth on. Independence, they're a very like I said earlier, they're a very family-oriented tribe, so, the women will rely heavily on their family members during the recovery period. One interesting fact is that, when a girl is on her menstrual cycle or when a woman has lochia, she can only speak to her immediate family members, so like her mom, her dad, her sisters, and she can only whisper to them because no one can hear what she is saying because she is tainted by the blood. And she also has to be fed with like a long stick because no one can touch her because she is unclean. Baby care, breastfeeding, children are absolutely breastfed until the last possible minute, and once the mom can't breastfeed anymore, they will feed the baby with whatever animal milk they have around. And even then, they tend to go from breast milk to mature adult diet. Because they're a semi-nomadic culture, they don't generally have things like cows around. Some tribes might. Bathing, infants are clean shortly after birth because, they're covered in fluids that are considered unclean. And then they follow the usual bathing cycle of the tribe. Circumcision is not done. It's just not part of their culture, and, I think they would see it as unnecessary risk. Medication, the only medications available are the ones available to the shamans, so the hallucinogenic drugs or some pain medications you might get from your shaman, and these aren't given to children. Handling, the mother and any older sisters are the primary handlers, and they'll handle the infant from birth. There's no specific beliefs as to who and who can't see the infant because, when you're all living in one big hut, there's really not much isolation. So as far as protecting goes, all the male members of the tribe will fiercely protect any member of the tribe. Closeness and proximity, I already talked about how, you're surrounded by your family from the day you're born, so skin to skin is expected. Focusing on baby's features, if that baby's a healthy baby, and male babies are preferred. But beyond that, there's not really much going on. Infant illness, so any infection, birth defects, if the shaman can't fight it and make it go away, they kind of have the brutal practice of burying infants alive. So, they'll give the infant back to the earth. So, even if it's a girl and they wanted a boy, if it's a twin or a triplet, because they're considered evil because they don't have a soul, these babies will be buried alive. And on that note, that's my presentation, guys.